Hello, folks, and welcome back. On this episode, we're going to cover clean, inspect, and operation of our Dometic Three Way Refrigerator. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. The Dometic Three Way Refrigerator that came in our Casita Travel trailer can either use AC coming from your pedestal, which is 120 volts, for cooling, DC coming from your battery for cooling, or propane for cooling. The thing about it though is the refrigerator requires 12 volts DC from your battery to operate regardless which one of those three, AC, DC, or propane, that you're using for cooling. So if you come into your refrigerator and it looks like this with no lights on, the first thing you do is check the fuse on the trailer power distribution panel. The control panel up here is where we operate our refrigerator from. Has the on-off switch. It has the auto AC, DC switch or gas. In the middle is your check light, which tells you whether or not the propane lit off if you're using propane. And over on the right is where we control the temperature of the actual refrigerator. And the final thing we'll talk about on the inside here is your data plate, which is on the inside of the refrigerator. It gives you your model number and serial number. This is the information you're going to need if you have to order any parts for your refrigerator. On the outside of your trailer, you're going to have two vents, one at the top, one at the bottom. These are where air is going to come into the back of your refrigerator. It uses the chimney effect in the bottom and out the top to provide cooling to allow your refrigerator to work. We would highly recommend these screens. If you do not have them installed, go ahead and get them and install them. They'll help keep insects out of the back of your refrigerator. Now we'll go ahead and take the covers off, and inside the top cover, you'll see these cooling fins here. And then underneath it, you'll see this little diverter piece that Casita installs now, so the air's got to go over the fins instead of coming out before the fins. If you don't have that, it's highly recommended that you put something there. Also, down in behind there, it's hard to see. I'll move the camera around here. There is a fan that can be installed now. The newer refrigerator, there it is right there with the yellow label. The newer refrigerators have them, and it's thermostat control, so if it gets too hot back here, it'll actually help blow air over these fins. And just make sure they're clean and there's nothing on them, nothing blocking the airflow. When you take the bottom panel off, this is what it looks like. The first thing you're going to encounter is going to be this black tubing here, which is your condensate hose, and it hooks to the drain on the outside of the door at the bottom. Just make sure you put it back on there when you put your door back on so the condensate drains out. Over here on the right, this is going to be the burner assembly. Down at the bottom is going to be your propane burner, which heats it up if you're using propane. Up here is going to be your two heaters that heat the assembly in here. If you're using AC, this is it. And if you're using DC, this is the one that's going to be heating. And the way these work is the refrigerator has different chemicals in it, and it's going to heat these chemicals up and boil them off, and that's what's going to actually make the refrigerator work. It works off convection. There's no actual pump or compressor. Over here on this side is going to be the actual control panel. This is going to be your AC power coming in for the AC heater. Down at the bottom over here is going to be your DC power coming in. I'm going to move this tube out of the way. This red and white wire. This is going to be for the DC heater. It's also going to be your DC voltage to run the refrigerator. It will not run if you do not have DC voltage on here. And then the next thing we're going to talk about over here is the actual burner for the gas. One thing, if you ever look in here and you see a bright yellow stains on this burner over here, then you've got a refrigerant leak and you need to have service performed ASAP on this. There's a chemical that they put into the refrigerant here to help corrosion, and that's if it leaks, that'll leak out and you'll see it bright yellow right here on this. So if you see that, you need to have your refrigerator serviced. Now this is your gas line coming in. That's your gas valve. And then the burner is behind there. and this is the solenoid that controls your gas valve. And we're going to pull this cover off in just a minute and inspect our burner and make sure that it's good. Taking this little screw out here, that cover will come off, and we'll be able to examine it. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take a blower, blow all of this out, make sure it's nice and clean in here. I'm going to check all my connections, make sure nothing's excessively corroded, make sure all my tubing's good, and then we'll pull this off and we'll look at our burner. Once you take that one screw I pointed out on the top off, the cover that's on here just pops out. Now this is going to be the orifice where your propane is going to come in, and this silver tube that you see is going to be the burner, and the holes are over on the right where the flame's going to be. And then this white bar that you see with a wire coming out of it is going to be your actual igniter, and then it's also going to be your flame sensor that it uses to determine if the flame is lit or not. You want to just look at your burner here, make sure it's nice and clean. Look at your igniter, make sure it's nice and clean. If you have any problems with this, we would highly recommend that you have it serviced by a certified technician. This is a propane system, and you want to make sure that you have it serviced by somebody who knows how to work on propane. Now, if everything looks good and everything checks good, we're going to go ahead and put our cover back on, put the screw back in our cover. Then we're going to put our outside panels back on. Make sure you hook your drain hose up. And then we're going to go inside and check operation. One thing unique about these absorption type refrigerators is they cool the freezer down first, and once it's cooled, then it'll cool the actual refrigerator portion down. So what I'll do is when I'm starting mine off, I'll take these ice blocks and put them in my freezer, kind of give it a head start, and that'll allow me to cool down the refrigerator a lot quicker. Now, on the front panel, you can have 3 buttons on the left. You can see they're on, off on the left, DC or AC in the middle, and then auto or gas on the right. Now, these 3 buttons, the on-off is pretty self-explanatory. Turns the refrigerator on and off. The DC AC button either selects DC or AC for cooling. And then the auto gas button either selects gas or auto. In the auto mode, it'll try to do AC first. If it can't do AC, it'll automatically switch over to gas. And in the gas mode, it'll run on gas only. And then if you select DC, it'll run on DC only. In the middle of the panel is going to be a little light that says check. If this light comes on, it means that the gas burner did not light off. That's the only thing it indicates, and the only way to reset this is to turn the refrigerator off and then back on and see if the gas burner lights off. This light does not have anything to do with AC or DC cooling. Then all the way over on the right is going to be 5 indicator lights and a cold list button, and this just sets your temperature inside your refrigerator. And I usually run mine on 4, but you just have to determine what's best for you. And you just press the button and it'll cycle through whichever cold level you want to use. Now let's go ahead and turn our refrigerator on here and see what it looks like. You'll see when I press the power button, it goes through an initial check there, checks all the lights, make sure everything works. And then it cycles through its internal diagnostics to make sure everything's good. And then mine just came up in AC and auto, and it's running off of AC right now. Now, if I press this button here, it's going to switch over to gas only. And you see now it's running in gas. Give it a minute, and you'll see the check light stays off, so I know it lit off on gas. And I use gas initially to start up my refrigerator because it's a lot quicker than AC or DC. At least that's been my experience. And you just want to watch to make sure that check light doesn't come on. Now I'll let mine cool down, and once mine's down to operating temperature, if I'm hooked up to shore power, I'll go ahead and shift it back over to auto so it jumps back over to AC. And then when I'm traveling, I do use DC for mine. I have had a few instances where I did use propane while traveling, but I do prefer DC. Well, that concludes our clean and inspect and operation of our Dometic Three-Way Absorption Refrigerator that came in our Casita Travel trailer. We hope this helps you out. We know there's a lot of questions out there on refrigerators. If you have any questions, go ahead and send us an email. We'll be glad to try to answer it for you. With that being said, we want to tell you we definitely appreciate you watching and thank you for your support. And we'll see you in the campground.